Okay, so I am 6 weeks off Suboxone, and I would say that at the end of my 6th week, it's night and day compared to the end of, like, say, my 6th day. The only thing left is, I'm getting 6 hours to 7 hours of sleep every night, but the quality of my sleep still just isn't really there. So maybe I'm not getting enough REM, or, I feel like it's lucid dreaming, and that lucid dreaming is making me feel like I'm not sleeping. It's a lucid dream of running through a field, and then I wake up in the morning exhausted because I just spent the entire night running through a field, kind of thing, right? But I think something that's been kind of going through my mind lately, so something that I'm going to talk about is remembering why I wanted to quit Suboxone in the first place, remembering why I got on Suboxone in the first place, remembering how quickly life went downhill for me the last time I fell off, and that my last 2-year run was not a good run. That was probably my worst. In my 21 years of active addiction, those last 2 years were probably my absolute worst. And I need to remind myself every now and then of that, because sitting here now with life being all peachy, I'll romanticize past drug use, and I'm still doing it, and I said it in my last video, and that was like 2 weeks ago, or 10 days ago, and it's something that I definitely have to keep under check. I have to remind myself that it's being outside in the fresh air, it's the sunlight, it's being in love with life. That's what's important. Spending time with my wife and kids, being the best father that I can be, being the best husband that I can be. I'm 37 years old, and I was out there acting like a 21-year-old or a 17-year-old even, just partying, carefree, leaving all the responsibilities up to my wife, and that wasn't very fair of me. And that's actually where I wanted to go with this, was those feelings of self-worth, those feelings of being ashamed for the things that I've done, for the things that I did, for the things that I've done to the people I love. The only way I can justify, the only way I can hold my head up high right now is because I'm clean right now. If I was still using and dealing with all those feelings, I think that my using would just get worse and worse and worse until eventually there's only so far you can take it, and you end up either institution, jail, or death, right? So I have to remind myself that I didn't just get clean for my wife and kids. I did it for me too, because I believe, even though I just have to have faith that I deserve to have a good life. Even if I don't fully believe it yet, even if I'm not seeing it, I do have to have faith that I deserve it and that it's going to happen to me. And I'm not saying that I'm going to end up, rich and living in a nice condo in a sunny place. But learning to accept what I do have in my life, and being realistic about my expectations and my goals, right? I have an opportunity to help lead a roofing crew this summer, which I did last year as well when I first got out of rehab. And it was an awesome season. I definitely enjoyed myself. It felt good to have a group of guys looking at me for direction. I haven't been in that position in quite a few years. I couldn't be that guy for quite a few years. I was when I was younger, and then because I'd do good for 2 years and then drop off for 5 years, and then do good for 2 years and drop off for 2 years and then be good for 2 years, and that was my pattern, right, over and over and over. But I haven't used in 2 years now, because I was on Suboxone for 2 years. Now I've been off Suboxone for 6 weeks, and I've been dealing with a lot of emotions. I've been having this thyroid thing, and I guess that can trigger depression and stuff like that. And I definitely have this like indifference to life. A friend of mine died from an overdose the other day, and there was a small part like in the back of my head that thought like, "You lucky bastard," kind of thing, which I recognize. My rational mind tells me that that's not healthy thinking. My addict mind says I'd kind of like to die. Like I want to die the way Jimi Hendrix or Amy Winehouse or the 27 Club, except that I'm 37. And that's such a silly thing, I think, even just to say out loud, because like I said, my rational mind says that's I'm worth more than that. See, that was the other thing I was thinking about the other day. That's something I was talking to somebody else about. I've almost died, I guess, quite a few times. I don't know how many times somebody has said, "Oh, somebody up there was definitely looking out for you. There must be a purpose for you in this life." It's like, well, what's my purpose? Because I'm not going to cure cancer. I'm not the best father. I'm not the best husband. Like, why do I keep surviving? Why do I keep living? When I know other people that have contributed so much more than I ever have, or probably ever will, and they die from an overdose or an accident, or like, because I've been in some accidents. One about 2 years ago was the beginning of my sobriety. I decided that after I lived through that I would get clean. But yeah, like, so what's so special? Like, so is there any real reason to it? Is there somebody looking out for me? Is there some sort of purpose that I'm gonna serve at some point that I'm just unaware of, or is it all just random and I just live by dumb luck? Who knows? So those are some of the questions that have kind of been rattling around my mind. Maybe I'm putting too much thought into stuff, I don't know, but that's those are things that I've been really thinking about lately, and I don't know if these are things that I'm going to find answers to, or if if maybe there is no answers to these questions, and I just have to kind of, like, I know that I have to just make the best of the life that I have, right? So with the roofing thing, I'm going to put 100% effort into it. I try to make dinner every night. On the nights that I get home before the wife, if she makes dinner, then I try to make sure I do the dishes at least. So I don't want her to feel like she's doing all the work. But, so I am trying to do my part. I tuck the kids in at night, tell them I love them. I stand behind my wife when she makes decisions. So I'm there to support her. I go through the motions, but I don't feel like I'm a natural at it. And maybe nobody is, but I definitely have seen other, like, I'm not going to win Father of the Year award. I guess it doesn't come super naturally to me. But we're getting close to 10 minutes here. I don't like to make my videos much more than 10 minutes. So I think I've unloaded enough. That was kind of like a therapy session for myself. I'll watch the view counter and see if anybody actually watches this shit. So yeah, I don't know. Aside from that, life's good. Like I'm having a moment alone right now, and those are like my worst moments, so maybe this wasn't the best time to make a video, but it's also probably a more real time for me, so maybe it is a good time, I don't know. I'm usually a lot more upbeat, a lot more positive, especially on the roof, because there's another guy that's going through sort of the same thing, and I try to use stuff that I've learned and things that I have done to help me, and I try to help him, and it definitely gives me that motivation to keep moving forward. And when I hear him say discouraging things, it actually kind of makes me sad, wishing that he had that positive feeling that I usually do have. I just don't seem to have it this exact moment, which is another thing that I have to learn to be okay with, is just sometimes you're going to feel a little bit sad, and you just have to recognize the fact, okay, I'm a little sad. I wonder why I'm a little sad. Maybe try to work that out a bit. If you got to talk it out, write it down, whatever the case may be. But you can't hide from it. You can't deny it. You have to work through it, or you'll be suffering, right? Because pain plus resistance equals suffering. Recognize that there's going to be suffering, and you can't hide from it. And all the drugs in the world, they're not going to stop you from suffering. If anything, in the long run, they'll just create more suffering. So let's stop suffering, and let's just move forward and be happy. Okay, have a good one.